Fuel system identification. There are 5 types of above-ground tanks that are currently in use. Single-walled above-ground tank with 110% spill containment dike. Single-walled self-diking above-ground tank. Single-walled above-ground tank with no spill containment. Double-walled above-ground vacuum monitored tank. Double-walled visually monitored above-ground tank. Visual inspection procedures. A complete visual inspection of all fuel systems should be done weekly along with completion of the forms. This document must be kept on file at the fuel site. Always do a complete 360-degree inspection of your above-ground tank daily. Check to make sure your tank is securely grounded with a wire cable securely attached to a ground rod or grounding plate that has been buried in the ground. Inspect fuel saddles on the bottom of tank to ensure tank is not sinking into the ground causing stress to tank structure. Piping. A complete visual inspection of piping should be done weekly. Check all joints on piping by running your hand around the bottom of the pipe, checking for any fuel residue or leakage. Check on the ground for any visual signs of fuel dripping from the pipe and staining of the ground. Check all fuel shutoff valves to ensure that all valves are in good working order. Check fuel shutoff valves for wear or possible leakage. Check pipe in fuel cabinet to ensure pipe is not leaking, cracked, or worn. Check fuel tank vent pipe to ensure that it is free of obstructions. Condition of site. Do a daily check of the general site condition. Check daily for tripping hazards and garbage and overall fuel site cleanliness. A steel garbage can with a lid for oily rags and garbage is required. Oily rags can spontaneously combust and all precautions must be taken to ensure that used Kim towels and rags are placed in a fireproof can and stored away from fuel operations. Weekly inspection of waste oil container must be in compliance with all current regulations. Waste oil container must be clearly marked waste fuel. Signage. All proper signage must be clearly visible, such as a copy of spill plan complete with contact phone numbers must be present at site. A weekly inspection of the spill kit must be done to ensure that it is complete and serviceable. Spill kit must be placed in a highly visible location in close proximity to fuel site operation and clearly marked spill kit. A minimum of 1 20-pound fire extinguisher or 2 10-pound fire extinguishers in proper working order must be on site. Extinguishers must be inspected on a monthly basis and signed off by an operator. Extinguishers must be stored in a highly visible location and stored in a manner in which they cannot be tampered with. Crash barricades must be installed to prevent vehicular traffic from entering fuel site. Crash barricades can be constructed out of concrete, steel pipe, or large boulders, but not be constructed out of wood. Receiving petroleum products. As a bulk fuel manager in your community, part of your responsibility will be receiving bulk petroleum products that will be offloaded into your bulk tank. The most common methods of delivery are either by fuel truck or fuel trailer. When preparing to offload fuel, it is very important that you follow the proper procedures. Never allow a vehicle with a gasoline engine to be running at fuel site. Engine must be turned off. Smoking near or at fuel site is strictly forbidden. Always wear clothing that covers you well, such as boots and gloves. Avoid wearing nylon clothing, pants, or jackets, as type of clothing generates static electricity which can cause a spark. Ensure that there is a spill kit and fire extinguisher at site. Ensure that the access at the fill area for vehicles is free of obstructions. Before offloading fuel, you must know how much volume of petroleum product you have in your tank, and how much petroleum product your tank can hold when filled to a maximum of no more than 95%, allowing room in tank for expansion. In order to calculate the amount of fuel that your tank is currently holding, you must perform a dip test. Please refer to your manual and checklist for receiving petroleum products. When all the fuel has been pumped into the tank, wait at least 5 minutes for the fuel to stabilize. Then, re-dip tank and record findings. Dispensing petroleum products. Opening and closing retail outlets. Safety checklist. You must take all steps to avoid fire, personal injury, and environmental damage, spills, and leaks. Know where safety equipment is located. Main power switch, fire extinguishers, sorbent material, disposal drum, and always wear protective clothing. Dispensing. Insert the nozzle well into the tank and start pumping. When the nozzle shuts off, it is your signal that the tank cannot safely hold much more fuel. If there is ever a situation where the auto shutoff does not engage, but you think that the tank is nearly full, don't wait for the auto shutoff. Always be present when dispensing fuel. Never jam nozzle open with object. After you have pumped your customer's order, ensure that the nozzle is completely drained into the gas tank. That way, no gas will drip onto the ground when you remove the nozzle. For safety reasons, never dispense gas while your storage tanks are being refueled. If you have to leave the pump unattended at some time during the day, it is important to lock the pump. You do this for safety and to prevent theft. At the end of the workday, close the pump area by reversing the opening procedures. Operators of bulk petroleum systems must keep inventory records. These are to be available for inspection and should be kept on file for 1 year. Dipping procedures. Dip tests are used to test for water in the tank, determine how much fuel is in the tank, determine consumption rates to forecast delivery requirements in advance. Steps for dipping. Put on gloves and goggles. Apply paste to the bottom of the stick and 5 centimeters up the side. Locate and open dipping port. Do not allow water in the tank. Slide the stick into the tank until it reaches the bottom. Wait 10 seconds. Pull dipstick out enough to read and record fuel level in centimeters. Compare centimeter to conversion chart. Wipe the rest of the fuel off as you slide the stick out of the tank to check the paste. If the paste did not change color, you can record that there is no water in the bottom of the tank. If the paste turns pink, you have water in the bottom of the tank. You must record your findings. Immediately report this to your supervisor. Water in tank should be then pumped out by using a hand fuel pump. Water should be pumped into a waste drum and disposed of in proper manner. All water amounts that are found in your tank should be recorded and monitored. If water amount should increase, an inspection of tank openings should be completed. Bonding, grounding procedures. A charge of static electricity can build up along the hose when not properly grounded. When the nozzle touches bare metal on a bulk tank or possibly a metal fill spout on a vehicle, chance of an electrical arc is much greater. It is very important to follow these steps. Bulk, fuel tank, and fuel pump should always be grounded. Always make sure that you are using approved fuel hose for the dispensing of petroleum liquids. Hoses are manufactured with a ground wire molded right into the hose as a safety feature. A simple test can be performed to ensure your fuel hose and nozzle are grounded to your fuel pump. This test is known as a continuity test. Continuity test is the testing of electric flow through your ground wire from your ground at the pump to your nozzle. When using the continuity meter, attach one probe to pump or piping from the dispenser and the other to nozzle. Your meter indicates if your pump is grounded to your nozzle. Grounding and bonding procedures for fuel drum filling are the following. Always use an approved fuel drum. Never fill a fuel drum in the back of any vehicle without being grounded and bonded. To ground and bond the fuel drum, you must attach a ground cable to the pump and onto the frame of the vehicle and the other to the drum. This will ground and bond the fuel drum, avoiding the chance of static electricity. When filling the fuel drum, never fill the drum from the large bung hole. Always fill from the small bung hole. Doing this also ensures the nozzle is grounded to the drum, avoiding the chance of static electricity. Grounding procedures for filling of an approved portable petroleum container. Always use an approved portable petroleum container. Never fill a petroleum container in the back of any vehicle, inside a vehicle, or in the trunk of a vehicle. To ground and bond the petroleum container, you must place the container on a clean area on the ground. This will ground the petroleum container, avoiding the chance of static electricity. Spill response. You may be called upon when an uncontrollable release of petroleum liquids has escaped into the environment. You should be prepared to try and control the substance by stopping the source, minimizing the extent of the contaminated area, recover the spilled material. Each spill differs by time of year, amount of release into the environment, and local land use. You must always be aware that gasoline, fuel, and oil as a liquid may flow along surfaces, land, or water, vaporize and act as gas or mist, seep into the ground. As a gas, it may travel on the surface of land and over water, be carried by wind or surface currents, collect in excavations and trenches. Containment and recovery of a spilled product is the desirable approach to eliminate threats to life, property, and the environment. Control measures may include the following procedures: diking, trenching, damming, sorbents, installing booms. Personal and public safety must always be your first priority in an emergency situation. Spill checklist. Stop product flow. Eliminate ignition sources. Contain, control, and eliminate the sources of the spill as long as it poses no threat to your personal safety. Depress emergency stop button to shut off pump. Do not walk or work in the spilled product. Always work upwind. Isolate the area. For a large spill, evacuate 1,000 meters for gasoline and 300 meters for diesel. Contact your supervisor and proper authorities. The following is a list of steps that should be followed when responding to a petroleum-based fire. Stop product flow. Depress emergency stop button to shut off fuel pump. Isolate the area. Only use fire extinguishers that are approved for petroleum fires. You should never use water to try and extinguish a petroleum fire. Water will only make matters worse by spreading the fuel, making the fire larger. For large fires, evacuate 1,000 meters for gasoline and 300 meters for diesel. Assess the situation, contact your immediate supervisor, and call appropriate authorities. In closing, always remember Personal and public safety is first. Remove all sources of ignition. Turn all vehicles off when filling. Report all spills to supervisor. All spills and leaks are of a serious matter. Never expose skin to petroleum products. Avoid wearing nylon clothing, pants, or jackets, as that type of clothing generates static electricity, which could cause a spark. Practice first aid if products should touch skin or eyes. Never inhale or ingest fuel or vapor of petroleum product. Keep your fuel tanks and dispensers clean of garbage and/or hazardous matters. Keep with standards and practices of fuel management. As a fuel handler, it is your responsibility for proper use and safety of all petroleum equipment and products. Practice safe fuel management and always remember to reference your fuel systems management handbook. Have a good, safe day.